Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review for the latest episode of The Mandalorian, Chapter 21, The Pirate. And I really enjoyed this episode because it really kind of brought everything together and kind of set us up for the kind of endgame course. And it kind of went a certain couple ways that I didn't actually expect, mainly in regards to Bo-Katan and the armor, but this was a nice kind of action-packed one, good kind of character development, and kind of setting us up for kind of what we're trying to kind of go forward with. So, we start off at Navarro, and we see that Grief Karga is trying to figure out different kind of city planning ways, as a high magistrate should do with his engineers, trying to figure if the shopping district should be closer to like where the railways and shipping will be done, so that way they can get pretty much the product faster and make sure that that works out pretty well. Yes, it's weird, but I like understanding city planning for what's kind of going on. Now, granted, this is then interrupted with Gorian Shard, the pirate dude that we had seen previously, coming like, I'm gonna pretty much destroy your shit. And starts pretty much. We see that Grief tries to hail him, and Gorian Shard pretty much berates him, saying that he looks. You were the dude that was running with like the bounty hunters and giving them orders with the guild and everything, but you just look like a pampered nobleman who doesn't know what the hell he's doing. And Grief's tried to get him to like back down. He's like, no, no, no. The next hail I get from you is you surrendering. As he then begins firing on Navarro's city, and we see it starting to get blasted apart. But then we see that he decides to do a message for the New Republic to request aid for Navarro, while then trying to evacuate the citizens. And they're able to get out of town before everything's getting blasted apart by the pirate ship. So we then see that Captain Tiva, the one that Din Djarin has pretty much been running in, is at their outpost. And it's kind of cool because you get this kind of weird, kind of vibey feel from it. That it's kind of like a New Republic kind of thing, kind of on the outskirts, towards pretty much like the Outer Rim kind of stuff that's going on. And we see that he just kind of like gets into pretty much the cantina. We see that they're wearing the usual kind of rebel kind of stuff, and he does get this kind of message from Grief Karga, and he watches it. He's like, damn, I gotta go petition aid. And this one dude from Rebels, now granted I haven't watched Rebels so I don't know, is like talking about, hey, they haven't like signed up for the New Republic, so of course it's going to be harder to kind of get aid. Tiva understands that and decides to go to Coruscant himself to petition aid and try and go out and like help them out. However, he gets there and he's trying to effectively argue the case. He's like, we should help these people. But Colonel Tuttle's like, I'm a requisitions dude. I can't really do much. And then, of course, we see the one former Imperial, Kane, I believe? Yes, Kane. Pretty much is like agreeing with the Colonel Tuttle dude. And he's like, oh, yeah, they didn't join up, so we should not give them aid. And the funny thing is, if I was Tiva, I'd be like, no, that's exactly why you give them aid. You give them the understanding of, even if you're not in the New Republic, we're going to help you. But if you're with the New Republic, you're going to get that help faster because we have better lines of communication. We're able to understand what your needs are because there's fucking pirates pretty much trying to kill your asses right now, and we want to help you. And there's benefits of being with the New Republic, like helping you with this kind of stuff. And it just would have been a better way, but of course that's not Kane's objective. She's pretty much doing Empire stuff, and Tiva, what he's been seeing with the pirates and with Moff Gideon and everything like that, because he also brought up that Moff Gideon didn't make it to his trial, which is a bad thing, and we learn more stuff later on in the episode. So Tiva's like, all right, New Republic's not going to help. Let's try and do this another way. And he is able to find the covert with the Mandalorians, and Paz is like, get the hell out of here, man. We don't want you here. He's like, listen, I'm not here to cause any trouble or anything like that. I need to talk to to Din and pretty much be like, hey, your friend's in trouble. I thought you should know. See if you want to help him out. And he's like, how did you even find us? Like, you got a comrade amongst you. And we find out that the R5 unit that Din's been using was former Rebellion and gave the information to Tiva. It's like, ooh, that's a nice link up there. And Din and Tiva pretty much go off, and he's like, listen, we worked each other out. We helped with certain kind of instances. He's like, listen, I just wanted to make sure you knew about your friend, and if you could help him, help him. Because my bit didn't work out. And also telling him that I'm not going to tell anybody where this covert is. I'm going to wipe the data, everything like that. Like, you're all right. So he pretty much blasts off, and then we see how these Mandalorians pretty much handle these kind of decisions. We see that Din is given the hammer and saying that, like, listen, even though we had to come to fight, like a fighting terms with Greef Karga, it was mainly the Imperials that pushed you out of Navarro and had to move the covert. And even though we fought against Greef, we're not on separate sides. We need to help him. And that pretty much comes down to the gist of his argument. And then he hands off the hammer to the armor. And we'd seen that there's some rankle among the rest of the Mandalorians about doing this, as we heard conversation kind of popping up. And then she gets it and hands off the hammer to Paz. And I really like how they do this, because at first it seems that like Paz is like, screw this. Why should we help the Navarrians? Because they fought against us. They pushed us off of the planet. What have they earned to help us? Like, what have they done to earn our help? It's like, he goes that Din and Bo-Katan asked this of us. He's like, because of what they've done. Din saved my son. Bo-Katan had faith that the foundling was alive, even though we shouldn't have. It was great to have him lay out in like kind of like the devil's advocate of why they shouldn't, before being like, we should because we're Mandalorians. We fight, and we're trained for this, and they ask it of us, and they've done for us, so we should do for them. And it's interesting to then see everyone else get on that kind of side, and they start up. Bo-Katan pretty much starts leading. They understand what they kind of need to do. They come up with a nice battle plan. Din being in his snub fighter and kind of getting the Corsair to go off course, and then have Bo-Katan come in and drop the Mando attack squads in phases of 2, and to then help reclaim the city. And the thing is, while this is going on, we see the Greef Karga has taken the inhabitants of Navarro and said that, don't worry, I've sent for help, the New Republic should be coming. And, of course, there's a little bit of rabble, like, do we have any kind of time frame? And granted, that's a reasonable ask, but of course, Greef doesn't have that, and he doesn't know that the Mandos are coming. So we see the Mandos going through hyperspace, and then they come out, and we get great action sequences detailing character as well. So we see that Din pretty much goes in, pretty much getting Gorian Shard to be like, ah, shit, and getting Vane as well to send out all of the fighters to pretty much go after him and to take any kind of firing on the city of Navarro away to draw the Corsair off. So he's able to pretty much do that, blasting them a little bit, and to get the fighters on him as they start going out into different kind of canyon kind of settings, and amazingly taking them out. Like, not amazingly, but I mean, he's at a disadvantage, but he's able to just fly so well. He might gripe about having a starfighter, but Din Djarin is an amazing starfighter pilot. And he's showing Grogu all the different kind of stuff as well. Now, granted, Grogu takes a diminished role in this, but that's because everybody's doing all of these different kind of things. We're getting Din, we're getting Tiva, we're getting Tuttle and Kane, we're getting stuff on Moff Gideon, we're getting stuff on Bo-Katan, and her leading the Mandos in the charge with her fighter. And we then see that pretty much the pirate ship is drawn off, and then she's able to drop in the first contingent and then the second contingent, and they just go through. Like, this was the first, not the first, but this was the kind of best example so far, at least in my opinion, of showcasing what the Mandalorians can really do when they decide to go on the attack. Now, granted, we've seen them fighting before in like the first season with Navarro, but that's kind of more backfootish. This is, they know the situation, they're going into it willingly, and they go into attack. Like, it shows them as the fearsome fighting force that they are, even when they start, like, getting knocked down in certain kind of instances. We see them going in, and the thing is, they know, at least with the intel that they've got, well, I don't know if they've got the intel, but we see that the city's pretty much evacuated, so they just go in and start taking out pirates. And the pirates, they don't really give a shit. It's really kind of odd, because you would think that the pirates would want as much intact as possible, but this is more, they're destroying more stuff, but they're taking some kind of stuff, but not much. It's like, what's their objective here? And it's kind of fitting more in the Tiva kind of thing of like, okay, what's going on with the pirates? Is this to just sow discord to us, so that way we don't see that the Imperial remnants are coming back in, which gives more credence to Kane pretty much fucking with the Imperial reintegration program within the New Republic and taking out certain key members like Pershing, who could have been helpful in the New Republic with defeating the resurgent empire. So we see the Mandos going through using awesome kind of tactics. Granted, we don't get them really named or get really attached to them except for Paz Vizsla and the armor. But you're like, oh dang, we see him kind of moving through. We see these pirates had like screwed with these like Salacious Crumb kind of creatures, and actually the creature being like, yeah, fuck those guys, there's an ambush ahead, and the Mandos take that info. Granted, they do still get kind of pincered before Paz comes in with a couple of other ones and starts utilizing his Gatling, and I'm like, yeah, Big Papa's in. But the thing is, the pirates had pretty much taken up residence in Grief Karga's kind of upper magistrate balcony and put up like a heavy turret that starts like blasting out and hurting some of the other Mandos, and even doing a direct hit on Paz. Even though he doesn't get severely hurt, he does get taken out, and then we get a great action sequence with the armor as she goes through with just her hammer and her tongs and whoops ass. Like, she just, the dude's on the turret, and then you just see it like almost a monster movie in the background. She's like, bop, 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 boom, and then she fucking knocks the one dude completely off, and then Paz is like, alright, and they pretty much clean up and pincer move. They push out the pirate forces, and then the Navarrians come in and hold them, and it's like, alright. Now, of course, this is where the pirate ship is getting kind of beset upon all sides by Din, who's pretty much taken the stub fighters away, and Bo-Katan, who's utilizing her heavier kind of attack fighter slash ship to deal damage to the pirate ship and to take on the snub fighters as well, as it's starting to try to blast towards the Navarrians. But at this point, Vane pretty much is like, hey, screw you, Gorian, and Din and Bo-Katan pretty much take out the rest of the engines, and the ship crashes, killing Gorian Shard. And everybody's like, yeah, because it was a hard-won victory. Like, the Mandos didn't come away without a scratch. Some of them got, like, we don't see any of them dead, but some of them still got fucked up. But that's still a testament to how battle-hardened Mandalorians are. So everybody's kind of pretty much celebrating and everything. Greef decides to give the tract of land to the Mandos forever for the help that they did to repair any bad blood and to give them a home and a permanent covert. And that was pretty much also why Din brought it to the group as well, saying that, like, hey, he owes me, he says he'd give me a tract of land. We could do that. And he gives them a pretty good swath. It's like, they've got a home. However, Bo-Katan is then called by Paz to the armor, and they go back down into the sewers, and we see that the armor starts talking about the differences between, like, Mandalore and this forge, how that one was ornate, this one was small and everything, and that with everything that has gone on with Bo-Katan and how she went with Din to Living Waters, saw the Mythosaur, how she came, saved the Foundling, and helped with this assault, has evidently opened her eyes, and they're like, you could be the one to lead us. And then she also requests that she takes off her helmet, and she does because she said you could do it because you respect my station. Now, granted, I thought she was going to take off her helmet as well and maybe get a reveal of who she is, but we didn't get that at this point. Not that that's a negative or whatnot. That's just what I thought when I was watching it at this time. But she explains that Bo-Katan is of both ways and could then bring the Mandalorians together. Now, I thought potentially that what was going to happen after this is that the Armor and Bo-Katan would challenge Din to combat for the Darksaber. However, it hasn't happened as of that point yet. They might do a thing to get it to that point because of how well Bo-Katan can actually use the Darksaber versus Din not being able to use it, not being as in tune with it. And we see the Mandos come, and they're kind of shocked that Bo-Katan's got her helmet off, but then the Armor lays out her reasoning and thinks that there's credence to the Mythosaur and that she's to lead and to bring together all the Mandalorians and go back to Mandalore. And I understand that this seems very fast, that you've got a home, and you fought very hard to get this home. And I'm with that. I'm like, damn, like, I want to take a little break, but of course, if you go into the signs of what are part of the Mandalorian culture, they would probably want to move on this as fast as possible. And I think that's the Armor and Bo-Katan's kind of ideal with this. Because you could say, hey, we now have a place here in Navarro. Come to us. We are going to retake and reclaim Mandalore because she's seen the Mythosaur. She's bathed in the living waters. She has walked both ways, the ways of the way and also not. And she could bring all the rest of the Mandalorians together. We'll have to see how that works out. Because in the beginning, she'd lost everybody, and she's like, I can't lead anybody, I can't do this. And now she's kind of gone through these adventures with Din, and even the rest of the Mandalorians are kind of seeing what she can do and how she can lead. So we'll have to see how that works out. Because towards the end of the episode, we get another tidbit. Captain Teva comes upon a Lambada-class shuttle, like an old-school Imperial shuttle, and he's able to utilize his R7-2 which was an interesting kind of thing. You know how the R units, like an R2-D2, has that little kind of camera thing? He uses that as a kind of probe to go in, and we see that the New Republic forces are all killed. There's no body from Moff Gideon. And as he's able to search and scan, there are remnants of Beskar metal embedded into the hull, meaning that some Mandalorians were utilized in the breakout from Moff Gideon. So that is going to create some trouble with Bo-Katan and the covert Mandalorians trying to bring all together the remnants of the Mandalorian people to try and reclaim Mandalore. They will have to fight this kind of sect, potentially, or like they'll be thought of as the sect. We'll have to see how that works out. So let's see. This was episode 5 of the season, so we've got 3 left. We'll see how this works out. I know that Din really could care less for the Darksaber, but the thing is, she saw the Mythosaur. She would have to win it in honorable combat to get them together. But I think her and the Armor might be thinking of gathering enough people first, then presenting the real challenge, and then having to make it be as real as possible to give credence to her leading these groups of Mandalorians. Because with what they've done so far, I think they could get a good enough group, but then once they get that group together, it's got to be kind of solidified. And then they have to deal with the Mandalorians that were utilized to break out Moff Gideon, because they could have been promised better ways to retake Mandalore by the Imperial Remnant. And then they'll have to see if they can, like, if Din's group and Bo-Katan's group work with the New Republic to take on the Imperial Remnants, or this resurgent empire, or the Inklings of the First Order, or whatnot, and how that'll shake out. There's a lot of different kind of possibilities that I'm really intrigued to see how that kind of works and how that shakes out. And then also we'll have to see how Grogu kind of grows and goes from foundling to apprentice, and how that kind of works out in his utilization of the Force in there as well. So there's a lot of kind of cool potential. I really like this episode because there's great character kind of moments, great action that was informed by character, and not just dumb, stupid action, while advancing the plot forward. That's usually when you get a good episode, and I'm glad that we got this here, especially since we're getting into the home stretch in the end. So, those are my opinions on the episode. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also, like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.